Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Voltron video. This is going to be my review for Voltron Legendary Defender Season 8 Episodes 1 to 4. I'm doing this in the usual style I do when a new season comes out, and that is basically doing a couple of videos as I go through my initial watch through. So I've only watched the first 4 episodes as of this video, and then once I'm editing this video I'll watch the next 4, do a video on that, and so on, and then I will be doing a live reaction video of me watching the last episode, so look out for that. Yeah, other than that, let's just jump straight in with this is the last season of Voltron, and how did the last season start? I think it was a very successful start, in that I actually really liked that they started off with a more character-driven episode. There wasn't a lot of plot, it was just the aftermath of what happened in Season 7, what's up with the Altean who was piloting that row beast, and other than that, it was just, we have one day basically break before we get back onto the path of ending everything that's going on here, ending the war and so on. So, you know, the episode's called Launch Date, and I actually really liked that it was just basically kind of a shipping episode. It was all about Lance asking Allura out on a date, her accepting, and then the kind of drama as they both sort of agonize a little bit over preparing for it, and then it actually happening. I, in a way, didn't expect the show to focus all that much on romance until like the very end. So I actually appreciate how they just jumped straight in and were like, look, we set this up pretty heavily last season, here's us committing to it even more, here's a date, here's a kiss. Very, very impactful, and this is obviously a ship that I expected that they would kind of commit to in this season, and it was nice to see them just get that out of the way. No real kind of confusion about it. They created, I suppose, a little bit of a kind of emotional kind of situation around it of like, oh, is there a reason Allura's not kind of immediately agreeing to the date or anything like that? But she does, and the reason she was refusing it in the first place is just that, you know, she was so focused on what was going on with the Altean and what that meant that she was kind of just distracted, and she obviously, with the help of everyone else, just realized that she needed a moment as well. So that was it was nice to kind of see that. And over the course of the episode, you basically had, you know, all the guys helping Lance prepare for the most part, and then all the girls helping Allura prepare for the date. And so when they finally get to it happening, it is this really, really nice moment of like, obviously she's going over to his house. He has such a huge family, and they played on that as well in the episode, which I actually really liked, and that seems to be what they're doing with Allura this season. Already in the first 4 episodes, they've mentioned that like 2 or 3 times, that her bringing up again that, you know, she doesn't have a family. But here, I liked in the big kind of Lance confessing that he loves her scene, that he kind of mentioned that as well, that like kind of, I want to be your family. And I was impressed that they just committed so heavily to just, you know, full on I love you, I want to be with you forever type stuff. But I think it worked to just, in a way, get rid of all the romance drama that's going on. Now, there still probably will be some, like if Lotor comes back, like that's still going to be a fairly awkward scene when it actually happens. But Allura Lance, I really liked the dynamic, and it was kind of a surprising moment, but Lance's mother being the one to kind of almost like explain things kind of quite well when she talked to Allura was nice. Of just, you know, it's just a show they put on, but when you look past that, you know, you get like one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and I think that is very fitting. And if you compare, I suppose, the 2 relationships, like Allura Lotor, Allura Lance, you see that there's so much better communication in Allura Lance than there was Allura Lotor. Lotor was just kind of, in a way, telling her all the things that she kind of wanted to hear, and she kind of bought into it, whereas you can, I think, really see here that this is, her and Lance is this kind of combined thing, knowing each other so well, and it just feels, I think, very natural now that it's actually happening. I know there's a lot of discussion about like, oh, like Lance being like a second choice or anything like that, but like, I think it's a bit negative if you only look at the relationship that way of like, oh wait, Allura was with Lotor, but now she's with Lance, and that means a second choice. When, like, I think at that point you're sort of looking at the initial kind of stuff as if like it was always this competition, whereas I think the whole Allura Lance thing, they only really, I suppose, committed to it once Allura Lotor was kind of fully kind of over. So I think that helps it to just be a more natural in the way it was done. But yeah, that was the core of that episode. You know, obviously we had the Altain wake up, her name revealed to be Luca, and she, Ramel does know her, and it obviously sets up a little bit of the second episode, which was really, really good. But they more or less, I think they kill her off. They didn't say it, but they showed like her flatlining after she mentioned the name Onerva. And yeah, that led into the second episode, which I thought was, I think, the best of the first four. And the reason it was the best was because obviously it helped to explain a lot of questions that we had about just what was happening. Obviously, at the end of Season 7, the Robeast arriving was this really shock moment. No setup, it just happened. Suddenly, Voltron was completely outmatched, and then the big shock reveal, it's an Altain inside. How did that happen? We had a lot of clues along the way, just because, like we knew that they'd already set up stuff with Altain, so realistically, this Altain is from the colony. This has to be Onerva, because she's the only, like, threat kind of still left out there. But where does the other Robeast come from? Like, what's Onerva been doing all this time? Has anything happened with Lotor? And this episode helped to explain that, but also acted as, like, I think, good just character development for Onerva, flashing back to some key moments of her throughout her life. Of, I think for me, most notably, getting more scenes of her prior to the incident in the Quintessence field and her, you know, being killed and resurrected and basically becoming Hagar, and just how kind of, you know, lovely in a way she is, just seeing her so kind of happy, seeing Zarkon happy with their expecting their child. And then I think we more or less knew it, I think, based on what they showed us from before, but that when, you know, Onerva died, she was pregnant, and so Lotor was affected by, you know, them being resurrected. So he basically has the, I suppose, evil kind of Quintessence energy within him as well, to a degree. And they're more or less, I think, they've kind of ignored that kind of plot point for a while, and now Onerva is on the train of, similar to Lotor, where he was kind of got very anti-Galra towards the end. Onerva is anti-Galra because she basically is saying that the Galra aspect of Lotor's blood is what led to his, you know, defeat, destruction, why she's lost him. And she is anti-Galra because of that, in that they kind of ruined her son. Now she's still looking for him to find a way to get him back. And I find it so interesting that the final villain of the show is leading, you know, her army of Altaeans. I think it's such a great example of like how far the show has come, that, you know, the end villain is Altaeans when they were like extinct as of the first episode. It's very kind of thematically fitting that obviously our characters haven't fully found out that this is exactly who they're up against. It's basically the brainwashed population of the colonies is who they're fighting effectively here, led by Onerva. But it's so interesting that that's where it's come, that the Galra Empire is basically gone at this point, and more or less is, most of the Galra have kind of at this point joined the Voltron Coalition as of these kind of group of 4 episodes. So that will have to be explained a little bit. I assume there's still like the Galra Empire is so scattered and shattered at this point that it's hard to get a great judge on that, but that seems to be the general idea of how it's working. And I as I said, like I'm really, really intrigued to see how exactly they do this, because of course they're playing on the fact that Season 7 was such a rush to save Earth, and with everything that was happening like across Season 6 and 7, that the colony and the discovery of the colony was just kind of forgotten a little bit. And apart from, I think, them saying that they sent the blades back there and they found nothing, they found it was empty, we don't actually, like, they don't have any idea what's going on, and it hasn't been a focus just yet. So it's going to be such a shock when they eventually find out that, we're fighting Alteans all of a sudden. And how they're going to go about convincing them to, I suppose, not believe Onerva anymore, that, Voltron didn't kill Lotor because he was your savior, and it's not this kind of villainous thing, that he was the evil one and they had to defeat him to save the universe. How will that turn happen, and how will they end this on, I suppose, a good note with hope for the Altean population going forward? That's another very interesting one to me. They also established in this episode that Onerva's base of operations is Oriande, and she seems to have ruined a lot of the, I suppose, history of the place, and has basically melted down those statues to more or less make the Robeast that she's having. We also get established here that the Robeast that fought Voltron was a prototype. So that's an interesting one in terms of fights coming up, that Voltron just barely beat the prototype. If this is an improved version that they're going up against potentially in the next couple of episodes, they're in trouble, because I thought the way they did the fight at the end of Season 7, it was so one-sided that it was just one big power quick strike that took the Robeast by surprise, hit the weak spot. They're in trouble unless they get a big power boost, and how they do that is going to be very interesting. But yeah, I love the way they did this episode, as I said. Just the little flashbacks showing, Onerva becoming Hagar. I thought it was a little weird how the Hagar name came from, that she just killed the doctor who came in to kind of look after her, and she just took that name. But obviously they established the idea that she didn't know who she was, and Zarkon immediately kept up this lie that, oh, okay, you're not my wife, so you'll help me because you're powerful, but I'm not revealing who exactly you are. And you see these kind of, I suppose, like missed opportunity type moments of just, we know Lotor is Hagar's son, but all the scenes play out as if he doesn't know. And so she's watching basically kind of like Zarkon influence and kind of like more or less kind of damage Lotor with all of these kind of scenes. And it's like she helped to like mold Lotor into this person where he, was still heavily influenced by like the Galra culture. And as I said, that's why she's doing all of this, is because she is now kind of against the Galra aspect of like that's what led to his demise. That was a really cool reveal, and it also, I think, helped to, depending on what they're going to do with Lotor, bring him back, try and redeem him or whatever, they I think they brought that back up again with regards to just, okay, like they're going down like I suppose the Zuko path here. He's influenced by both sides of his lineage. The Onerva side is actually a very positive influence on him that helps. The Zarkon side is a negative influence, but most of that is only the case because of the dark quintessence stuff that's kind of influenced Zarkon, influenced Hagar, and influenced him. How much they're going to, I suppose, let him away with that because that's the case? Will they ever bring that up? Again, the stuff from the main enemy that the original Paladins defeated, the Dark Energy, like, when is that going to be brought up again? I think it will have to be, because for some reason, I don't get the impression, at least right now, that they're just going to be, it's going to end with just, Onerva's dead. They just kill her, they have to kill her. It feels like they're leading towards either Onerva and Lotor, or like one or the other, is the influence of that dark energy is kind of removed from them, and something happens. That to me feels like the more natural way to go about it. But again, it's this interesting thing of, when she was Hagar, before she like remembered her memories, she was like completely, basically, didn't really have much of an opinion of Lotor. She just was perfectly fine with whatever Zarkon did with Lotor, and would actually help him out and stop Lotor from going after Zarkon. But now it's this concern as a mother for him and wanting to kind of help him, and just those missed opportunities. It makes what happened to them all the way back in the flashback from season 3 all the more tragic, because it kind of ruined this very happy family, this quintessence experiment. And I think that's something they're beginning to more and more emphasize, that quintessence, there's something wrong with quintessence. I'm not sure if the show in the end is going to really make a statement about that, like we're just going to remove using quintessence for the most part. That's probably something the Galra Empire needs to do anyway, is just stop relying on quintessence. It seems to kind of fuel their kind of worse aspects more and more. But yeah, that's episode 2. Episode 3 I thought was a little bit slow until I realized, oh, this is what they're going for. They're finally committing to the Randveig superweapon plot. And if that's the end of it, I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm glad it's not going to be this like forever loose end that we've been dealing with for like 2 or 3 seasons. I'm glad we finally have the answers. But it was very, very quickly resolved. Like, they got across how powerful this thing was with how intelligent it was. It was incredibly quick. They basically said it was kind of impossible for them to defeat it by normal means, so they had to blow up the ship it was on. Is that the end for it? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it again at some point, just to appear out of nowhere. But, you know, I suppose it fit the point they were trying to make in that episode by trying to convince that new warlord, who we met in the previous season, to trust them, that here is this monster that Randveig made to purposefully kill Galra. Keith inadvertently has released this thing, and that's a kind of a moment of lack of trust. But in the end, Keith kind of saves this guy from the monster, and that's what really convinces him in the end. It led to, I suppose, a very notable moment of just, this guy's probably one of the higher-ups in the Galra Empire at this point. They gave him a little bit of character development in this episode, and had him convince a large part of what was left of the Galra Empire to side with Voltron. And again, just the kind of full circle nature of this show, where most of the Galra Empire is now joined with Voltron, and it's this kind of new threat that is becoming the main like issue that we're kind of hunting towards. And that's where I think episode 4 was, again, a little slower than I expected. Like, obviously we're at the early part of the season. We've got still a good amount of episodes to go before we really see exactly where the season's going. In that it's just, we're searching for clues. And in the end, I think the second half of the episode 4 on Alcarion was really good. The emotion of seeing kind of Paige experience these kind of flashbacks, like as in like the land remembers everything and she experiences what happened in the past on this land. It was a very emotional scene just because this was the main planet of the Voltron Coalition. Or it's changed to Earth now, but like since its introduction, Alcarion was the base of operations. It was where they went to like make all their technology and stuff like this. It's just been wiped out. Reiner is confirmed dead, basically, but they get a key piece of information right at the end that's going to help them track the Roe Beast. I think that this was good. This was a nice character moment for Paige, where she now has this kind of technology way to track. It's going to save millions of lives. They learn again that the reason they can't detect these things is because they're using wormholes. And again, this is an interesting point because Voltron, the Castle of Lions, basically has been basically the only thing that can use wormholes, and now all of a sudden here's something else. And this is where they're referencing the fact that this is, I suppose, an aspect of the power gained from all Orionde, and Onerva realistically has that power at this point, and they now have to deal with the technology they've been using in the early seasons against them. So that was quite interesting, and it's going to be fun to see what exactly it is, the nature of how they track it, and so on. But yeah, the loss of Alcarion was a big one. They've destroyed another planet here. That they didn't just kill an important character. They wiped out the core world of the Voltron Coalition. Of course, they established that a lot of the Alcarians escaped, so it's not just that species is gone. But Reiner, a key member, is gone, and I thought that loss was actually very well done. And connecting just to everything that's come before, that Paige is the tech person, but she also has this connection to nature and what they did with Alcarion as the nature planet, but it's also the most technologically advanced, and it was this key moment of kind of development for Paige as a character, because again, her green line kind of represents that. It's a piece of technology, but it's kind of special weaponry creates kind of plant life, so that was a fun little thing. So yeah, I think that's most of my initial thoughts. I probably skipped over a couple of notable moments that happened, but again, I'm not going to remember everything after just watching it one time. Like, by the time I'm on episode 4, I've forgotten a good amount of episode 1, that sort of thing, but we'll progress onward. So yeah, that's been the first video covering Voltron Season 8, and I'll be back in a couple of hours with my review for episodes 5 to 8. And then we'll do 9 to 12, and then live reaction to 13. So yeah, that's been the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the first 4 episodes of Voltron Season 8, but that's the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.